Hello students, you are welcome to our mathematics program. This is our 5th revision lesson brought to you by CENLOS, that is Center for National Distance Learning and Open Schooling. My name is Ben Apeudatson. In our last lesson, we revised how to calculate the mean of a given data. Our revision lesson for today is on drawing and interpreting cumulative graphs of a grouped data. By the end of today's revision, you should be able to 1. Draw a cumulative frequency table for a given data. 2. Draw a cumulative frequency curve for the given data. 3. Estimate the median, the quartiles, the deciles, and the percentiles from the cumulative frequency curve. And lastly, you should be able to estimate the frequency for a given mark from the curve. My dear students, today with me to do this discussion, I have Mr. Isaac Boabin and Mr. Seth Esiedu. Gentlemen, you are welcome.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
My gentlemen are going to help us to identify the skills we need in drawing accurate cumulative frequency curve and how to do some interpretations of the graph. You agree with me that drawing and interpreting a cumulative frequency curve is a common question in what we call mathematics. In today's lesson, we are going to look at how to draw cumulative frequency curve for a given data and how to interpret the curve. Here we will be estimating some statistical values that are relevant. Mr. Sedu, the last time we met, you told us that we can draw a pie chart, a bar chart, a histogram, and a cumulative frequency curve. In fact, our discussion centered on how to draw a pie chart, a bar chart, and a histogram. We did not do anything on the cumulative frequency curve. Now today, I want you to take us through the process of drawing a cumulative frequency curve.
Thank you, Ben. A cumulative frequency is the sum of frequencies that are less than a specified value. A set of such cumulative values are called cumulative frequency table or cumulative frequency distribution. The max less than is the upper class boundaries of the class interval. The cumulative frequency is obtained by adding the frequencies less than the upper class boundary mark. Good. For example, when you consider the table there, you realize that the various cumulative frequencies have been calculated with their corresponding class boundaries. But this time around, we are using the upper class boundary, unlike the histogram where we were using both the lower and the upper class boundary in drawing the histogram. This time we are more interested in the upper class boundaries. And let's see how the cumulative frequencies can be calculated. On your screen, the table on your screen indicates how we can calculate the cumulative frequencies. 1, let's look at the first class interval. We have 0 to 9.5. And the 0 to 9.5, the frequency there is 6. So in order to find its cumulative frequency, since it's the first number, we maintain it. When you look at the second class, we have the class mark to be 9.5 to 19.5. The frequency there is 8. So to obtain the cumulative frequency of that particular class, we need to add the 6 to the 8. Then that will give us 14. We continue in that order till we get to the last class inter-class boundary. Then after doing this, we obtain a total of 100. That's the last class inter. But students, take note. Always the total frequency should be the same as the last cumulative frequency value. If they are not the same, then it means your calculation is wrong. You need to take your time and then go through it and see whether you have made a mistake or not. Okay.
So, Mr. Esiedu, after you have drawn your cumulative frequency table, that is, you have the frequency, you have the max less than, and the cumulative frequencies. How do you draw the curve itself?
Good.
How do you pick your axis?
That's a good question. When it comes to graphical work, students normally take it for granted. They feel it's very easy. But if you are able to take your chances very well, this graph you can score 100%. Okay. But because students normally underrate those questions, they feel it's just a common drawing, so they overlook certain things. But in the first place, before you draw a cumulative frequency curve, you need the cumulative frequencies. And you illustrate that one on the vertical axis. And then the upper class boundaries on the on the horizontal axis.
Okay. So we have our cumulative frequencies on the vertical axis.
Good.
And the class max or the upper class boundaries on the horizontal axis.
Thank you.
Then what should the students do?
So here you plot the points. You plot them on the graph. For instance, if I want to plot a point such as 9.5 against maybe 6, which is the cumulative frequency, what I need to do is to find out their point of intersection on the graph and then indicate the point there. I do that for each of them, each of the class that we have over there. And after doing it, you draw a smooth curve through the points. So
that the ruler?
No, you can't use a ruler. You use your free hand.
Okay.
You use your free hand. But you make sure the curve is very smooth. That's why you need to use a pencil. You see? You can't use pen in drawing this because when you commit a mistake, you cannot erase it.
Okay.
So it's appropriate for you to use a pencil.
That is very, very interesting, Mr. Esiedu. I can see the curve nicely drawn. That's good. Now, Mr. Boabin, after we have drawn our graph, the curve is nicely drawn.
Yeah.
How do we interpret the curve? What kind of interpretations can we make?
At this level, the interpretations means we are estimating certain statistics from the graph. After we have drawn the cumulative frequency curve, we can use it to interpret the data. This is done by estimating values like median, deciles, and percentiles from the cumulative frequency curve.
Okay. So after the curve has been drawn, a student can be asked to identify the median, like you said.
Yeah.
What again did you say?
The quartiles.
The quartiles.
The deciles.
The deciles.
And the percentiles.
And the percentiles. Thank
These
you
are
very much. Oh, okay. Okay. So let's look at our graph. The graph that Mr. Esiedu helped us to draw.
Exactly.
How do we estimate the median from the data?
To estimate the median from such a graph, first we calculate the median position using the relation half into brackets sum of total frequency plus 1. What I mean is this. You add 1 to the total frequency and divide the result by 2. Remember, this is not the median mark, but rather the median position on the graph. The next thing you do is you go to the graph. You locate the cumulative frequency axis. Then you find this value you've calculated in step 1 on the graph. The third step is to move horizontally to the cumulative frequency curve. Indicate the point at which that line intersects the cumulative frequency curve. Then you move vertically down to the mark position. You record the mark as the median mark.
Thank you, Mr. Boabin. You have explained it. Can you clearly show us this process on the graph? the cumulative curve that we have just drawn?
Good. So in the first place, you have to calculate the median position of the data we have. For the data, you realize that our total frequency is 100. We'll add 1 to 100, and that will give us 101. For the median position, you have to divide 101 by 2, and that will give us 50.5 position. We go to the graph. On the cumulative frequency axis, we find 50.5. Then we draw a line horizontally to the curve. We need to get a point at which that line and the curve intersect. We then move vertically down to read the median mark. From the graph on your screen, realize that the median mark is 47.7.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boabin. I think you have made mention of we being able to calculate the median, the quartiles, the percentiles, and the decimals. Now, we have estimated the median from our graph. Mr. Sedu, how do we estimate the quartiles from the cumulative frequency curve?
Thank you very much, Ben. To estimate the first quarter, we shall go through the following steps. 1. Calculate the first quarter position using the relation that's 20. It can be 25% of the total frequency plus 1, or 1 over 4 times the total frequency plus 1. In statistical terms, the total frequency is represented by sigma f. The sigma f is a Greek letter. Good. Then, the second step, you need to go to the curve and locate this number on the cumulative frequency axis. The third point, move horizontally to the right until you intersect the curve, and then move vertically downwards to the mark axis. Record this mark as your first quarter. So this is the step that we need to take before calculating the first quarter. Now,
Mr. Sedu, if I got you right, in calculating the first quarter, you divide the total frequency plus 1 by 4.
Good.
And that gives the position.
The position.
Okay, all right. So how do you get the third quarter?
You go through the same procedure, but this time around is 3/4. That's 75%. You take 75% of the total frequency plus 1. Good. And that one too, you calculate the third quarter using the position. You find the position first. That's the position relation 3 over 4 into bracket sigma f plus 1. Go to the curve and locate this number on the cumulative frequency curve. Move horizontally to the right until you meet the curve. And move vertically downwards to the mark axis. Record this mark as your third quarter.
That is interesting. First quartile, you divide by 1 over 4.
Good.
Now you multiply by 1 over 4.
Multiply by 1 over 4.
Third quartile, you multiply by 3 over 4. Can you specifically help us to get the first quartile from our curve?
Okay. Ben, thank you. To calculate the first quarter of the example that we discussed, you need to find the quarter position, which is 25% of the total frequency plus 1. From that particular example, the total frequency was given as 100. So we need to add the 100 to 1 and then multiply the result by 1 over 4. And this gives us 25, that's the 25th 0.25 position. From the graph, when you trace it, as I've explained the steps earlier on, when you trace it, this one will correspond to a mark of 28.8, and that will give us our lower quarter mark.
Okay, so it means once we are able to find the position first, you go to the graph and you trace the actual mark for the lower quartile.
Good.
Do you do same for the upper quartile?
Yes, sir.
And how do you do it?
You go through the same steps. In the first place, you find the quartile position, which is the 75th of the total frequency plus 1. And when you do that, the position will be 75.75 position. Then you find its corresponding mark going through the previous steps that I explained. And that will give us 63.2.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sidu. You have helped us to identify the first quartile and the third quartiles. Mr. Boabin, you took us through how to obtain the median.
Yes.
What is the relation between the median and the quartiles that Mr. Esidu has just spoken about?
The quartile means something divided into 4. So the quartiles just have the lower, with the first quartile. The second quartile will be 2/4 or half. So the median is the same as the middle quartile.
Okay. Or can we call it the second quartile?
The second quartile.
Oh, okay. Now, Mr. Boabin, can you help us with a decile?
A decile.
Students are asked to calculate the decile and even the percentiles.
Good.
How do we calculate a decile? And how do we estimate the percentile?
Good. The quartile is 1/4. A percentile we know is 100th. A percentage.
Okay.
With 1% is 100. A decile is 1/10. So if I have kth decile, it means k over 10 times the total frequency. If I have kth percentile, that will be k over 100 times total frequency.
Oh,
it's just
okay.
as simple as that.
So it appears the only difference here is finding the position of the statistics that you have been identified.
That is all.
So in our example, what will be the estimated 80th percentile from the graph?
Good. In our example, our total frequency was 100. We add 1 to 100, we get 101. We will need the 80th percentile. So we multiply 80 over 100 times 101. And we are going to get 80.8 position. That is not the answer. We just have to go to the graph and read that value. So we move to the graph. Looking at the graph on the screen, we move to the 80.8 position. Then we move horizontally to the graph, the cumulative frequency curve. The point at which it intersects, then we move down, vertically down. From the graph, you can see that that value is given as 65.3. So we can conclude by saying that the 80th percentile for our data is 65.3. Now with the second question, we want to find the third decile.
Third decile.
Yep.
The student is asked to determine or estimate the third decile from the cumulative frequency curve.
We follow similar procedure, but this time around it's a decile. So it will be 3 over 10 times the total frequency. As we know, total frequency is 100. And by estimation, we'll add 1 to the 100. And that will give us 101. 3 divided by 10 times 101 will give us 30.3. Again, I must say this is not the answer. It's just a position on the graph. So we go to the cumulative frequency axis, as you can see on the screen. Then we indicate 30.3. Then we move horizontally to the curve. The point at which intersect the curve, we move vertically down. After doing that on the screen, realize that the decile or the third decile from our graph or cumulative frequency curve is 32.8.
Thank you. Now, I'm sure our students will be able to draw the cumulative frequency table, pick appropriate scale, and draw the graph. And once they have their cumulative frequency curve, they should be able to do this estimate that we have spoken about. That's the median, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, maybe a third decile or a sixth decile, a percentile, and the others. Now, I want us to take or to look at a typical WASSCE question. A very good example of a question that can appear in a WASSCE. Let me read this question. A table shows the ages of patients who reported to a hospital in a particular week. We have the age of the patient with intervals of 1 to 6, 1 to 5,
for the first class,
6 to 10, 11 to 15, up to 41 to 45. These intervals have their respective frequencies. Now the question is, 1. Construct a cumulative frequency table. 2. Draw a cumulative frequency curve. 3. Use the curve to estimate the median, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, the 7th decile, the 20th percentile, and then the 4th one, students are to find from the graph the number of patients who are above 28 years, and then the probability that a patient chosen as random is below 18 years. This appears to be a complete WASSCE question. Can I invite Mr. Siedu? If a student is faced with this question in examination, what should the student do?
Ben, thank you very much. As I explained earlier on, when a question like this is given to you, the best thing for you to do is to draw your cumulative frequency table first. And to do that, you need to be very careful. Why am I saying that you need to be very careful? The previous example that we did, you realize that the class interval has already been converted to class boundaries for you. So that one, there's no need. That's why we didn't change the class interval to class boundaries, because it's already in class boundaries. Okay. But with respect to this particular question, you realize that it's the class interval which have been given. And in our previous lesson, in the drawing of histogram, we learned how to convert from class interval to class boundaries. Okay. So it became very simple for us to apply that what we learned previously to this particular question. And how do we do that? Here, to determine it, you realize that the first one, when you calculate, the upper class boundary becomes 5.5,
okay,
which has been indicated on the table on your screen. Then from there, you calculate the cumulative frequencies.
If I may cut you,
okay,
you made mention of the upper class boundaries. Is it the same as the max less than?
Yes, it's the same as the max less than. So
in drawing the cumulative frequency, we can use either the upper class boundary, which is the same as the max less
than. Good.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
All right.
Good.
You may continue.
Good. Then after you have finished preparing your table, what you need to do next is to choose an appropriate scale. And after choosing the appropriate scale, you give your graph a title. Don't forget about this title. It's very important, because when you leave it out, you are going to lose mark, which will, in the long run, affects you. Then, from there, we indicate our upper class boundary on the horizontal axis, and then the cumulative frequencies on the vertical axis. Then we plot them. We plot the points.
Okay. So in plotting the curve, we indicate in this case, the data is about ages.
Good.
So we indicate the age on the horizontal axis.
Good, exactly.
And the cumulative frequency on the vertical axis.
Exactly. Then you plot it. But students need to be very cautious when they are plotting this particular graph in choosing their scale, because you have to make sure that what you are going to plot on the graph covers about 3/4 of the graph sheet.
Okay, so
Good.
the entire graph sheet
Good.
must be used for
Must be used.
the graph.
Good. You don't have
Okay.
to position it on, just a half or a
Sometimes
portion
you
of
see
the
them
graph sheet.
positioning it at the corner,
At the corner
of the
there,
graph.
which is not good, which is
Okay.
not good. It should be visible to the examiner who will mark that particular paper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Esiedu.
You're welcome.
Now that our graph has been drawn, that is the B part of the question. I'm sure we can go straight to the C, because the C is asking us to use the graph to estimate the median, the lower quarter, the upper quarter, the 7th decile, the 20th percentile, and also we have to find some numbers. Mr. Boabi, can I come bring you in?
Oh, I'll be glad.
Let's look at the C part of the question, where students are supposed to estimate the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile.
Good.
How do we estimate these from the graph?
Yeah.
Specifically with the question that you're answering.
For the median, for instance, you use 3 steps. First of all, you find the position. Second thing you do, you indicate it on the graph. And third is to read the value.
Okay.
Now, to find the position, we set as 1/2 of the total frequency position. But we add 1 to the total
1/2
frequency.
because this is the median.
It's the median.
All right.
Means the middle part,
Okay.
which is the median. Our total frequency for our data, we mean the number of patients who visited the hospital on that week, is 420. We add 1 to 420, and that will give us 421. Per our relation, we have to divide this by 2. 421 divided by 2 gives us 210.5. As I said, this is not the answer. It is the position of the median on the graph.
Okay.
So we move to the cumulative frequency axis of our graph, as you can see on the screen. They indicate 210.5. We then trace it horizontally to the curve we have drawn. At the point of intersection of the curve, we move vertically down, and from the graph, we are getting 30.8.
Okay,
So per our
it
data,
means-
we can say that
okay.
the median age is 30.8, because we are talking about ages.
Okay. Okay. How do you get the lower quarter?
The lower quarter, like the median, is 1/4 the total frequency. But the median is 1/2. This is just 1/4. So we divide 421 by 4, and that will give us 105.25. We move on to the cumulative frequency axis. We indicate 105.25. We move horizontally to the cumulative frequency curve. Then we move vertically down, and from the graph, we are getting 16.2.
Okay. That becomes the lower quarter mark for the data. In other words,
Yes.
in terms of age, it is a 16.2. What about the upper quarter?
The upper quarter is just 3/4 for the total frequency position. So instead of 1/4, this time around is 3/4.
Okay.
So 3/4 of 421 will give us 315.75 position on our cumulative frequency axis. So we go to the cumulative frequency axis, look at for 315.75, then we move horizontally to the curve. At the point of intersection of that line in the curve, we move vertically down, and from the graph or from the curve, it is 38.1. So we can conclude by saying that the upper quartile age is 38.1.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boabin. Now, Mr. Sedu, how do we answer the last 2 questions in C? That is, we are to find the 7th decile and the 20th percentile. Let's start with the 7th decile.
Good. Thank you, Ben. To answer this question, Decimal means dividing the data into 10 equal parts. And in doing that, what we need to do is to divide 7 by 10. Then we multiply the result by sigma, that's the total frequency plus 1. When you do this, this will give you the position mark for the 7th decimal. Then you draw a horizontal line from the position where the line intersects the curve. Just trace it down to the horizontal axis and then read that particular score, and that will give you the 7th decimal mark. The value, the corresponding value is 36.3 years.
Okay.
That's the corresponding.
That's after you have traced horizontally and then vertically.
Yeah, then tracing it. That will give you the particular, the 7th decimal mark. Or in this particular question is in years.
Okay.
So we have to add
the 7th
years
decimal
to it.
each.
Yeah, the 7th decimal.
That would be
each.
36.3. How do you find the 20th percentile?
Oh, you go through the same procedure. The procedure doesn't change. What you need to do is to multiply the total frequency, the sum of the total frequency, you add it to 1, and then you multiply the result by 20 over 100. You understand? Then after that, when you obtain the answer that you are going to get, is going to be your position.
Okay.
So you trace that position on the, you trace it on the vertical axis, then draw a horizontal line, and where the line intersects the curve, you, extrapolate it down to the horizontal axis. You read that particular mark over there. When you do this, this will give you 18.8. But we are talking about years, so you need to add your years to it to obtain your final answer. That's how the 20th percentile
so
is
it
calculated.
means our 20th percentile in this case is going to be
18.8 years. Yeah, good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There is a last part of the question. The D part says, from the graph, find 1, the number of patients who are above 28 years, and then 2, the probability that a patient chosen at random is below 18 years. So this time we have the years, and we are looking for the numbers.
Yep.
Mr. Bobby, how do we do that?
Well, of course, the data is made up of 2 values, the cumulative frequency and the age.
Okay.
So if you are given an age, where should you go? Of course, you have to go to the age axis.
What is the horizontal axis?
Horizontal axis.
Okay.
You should have to find the age value, go there and trace the 28 on the age axis, which is the horizontal axis. So you indicate 28 on the horizontal axis. But that is where the age is. 28 is between 20 and 30, just 2 points below 30. After indicating that line on the horizontal axis, you trace it vertically to the graph or the cumulative frequency curve. The point of intersection of that line and the graph, you then move horizontally to the cumulative frequency axis.
Okay.
And from the graph on your screen, realize that that value we are getting is 229.
Okay.
Let me explain this a little. The graph has been arranged from the lowest age to the highest age, from left to right. It means that on the cumulative frequency axis, all the numbers below correspond to ages which are less than 28.
Okay.
And the numbers above correspond to ages which are above 28. Now, we have a total of 420 patients, and 229 are aged below 28.
Okay.
So how many patients are aged above 28?
Okay.
It's
so
so
that
simple.
would be a simple subtraction?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just deduct 229 from 420, and we are going to have a total of 191 patients who are aged above 28. And that solves the problem.
That is interesting. I learn students find it very difficult in handling such questions.
That is true. Let me give you the truth of the matter. Most of the students are interested in just plotting the graphs.
Okay.
After plotting, they leave all the stuff.
You can't do any interpretation?
Yeah. But interpretation gives you more
I'm sure
marks.
this lesson
They give you more
will
marks.
give them a lot of
person
insights,
yes.
especially the way you have explained above and below. So if the question is about above the age, then once they trace, they need to subtract from the total.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boabin. What about, there's a similar one which says below 18 years. How do you answer that?
Below 18 years, what it means is that, as usual, we want an age below 18 years. The age value has been given, which is 18. So, you go to the age axis, then you find what? 18. 18 is 2 points below 20, and 8 points above 10.
10, okay.
So, as usual, you have to move vertically up
to
the cumulative frequency curve. Then, the point of intersection of that line and the curve, you then move horizontally to the cumulative frequency axis. And from our graph, you realize that the figure we are getting is 113. This one is the exact answer because the figure represents patients who are actually below 18 years.
Okay.
So 113 becomes the answer. We don't need to subtract it from 420.
So you don't do any subtraction?
Any subtraction. We don't need above
below.
because it is below.
If it is above, then you have to subtract and get the total number there.
Yep.
Okay. But that's not the end of the question. The question is talking about probability. Is that the probability?
To obtain the probability, we divide 113 by 420. As you well know, probability defined as the number in the event over the sample space. The event over here is what the question is asking us to do. That is, to find the number of patients aged below 18. So our event to this question is 113. Then our total sample space is the total number of patients over there, which is 420. So probability of patients who are aged below 18 will be 113 divided by 420. So we can conclude by saying that probability of patients below 18 years is equal to 0.2690, which is approximately 0.27.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boabin. You have done a very good job for us today. For this, all time will allow us. We have gone through how to draw a cumulative frequency table. You have helped us to look at the cumulative frequency curve, and we have done some estimations. We have estimated the median, we have estimated the first quartile, we have done the upper quartile, we have calculated some decimals and some percentiles. Again, we have also used the graph to estimate some numbers given the age under certain situations, whether it is above a certain age or below a certain age. In fact, you have also helped us to do some calculations in terms of probabilities. Thank you very much for your time today. Students, this is all time will allow us. We thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you join us again for our next lesson. It's goodbye.